Good afternoon, everybody. I was about to say good evening. It's not that late yet. Hello, and welcome to a very, very, very special ROM Hack Races presentation. I got one question for you, and I have one question for you, Dr. No, who is joining me. How about that race last night?
Whoo, man! How about that race?
How about that race? I want to let everybody. We're here to do a recap. We're not having a normal race tonight, but we are here to talk about the race, recap the race, get hyped about the race, talk about our favorite moments, and share it with as many of you who are involved with it as we can. Dr. No, hello, joining
Hello.
us tonight. We're gonna hang out, conversational style. How are you? How's everybody?
I am. First of all, I'm happy to have finally been able to get some sleep after last night.
Right?
Slash this morning. I'm doing well, thank you. That was a fever dream. That whole process, and we'll get into a whole bunch of it, but we're gonna have some friends stop by. It has been a journey, and I think that's the best way to describe it. Hello from all over, Third Wall in chat from Minnesota, representing the racers. Whoo!
Great job, everybody. There's so much that I want to say immediately that I almost don't know where to start with it all. Maybe you have an idea.
I do actually. We can start by introducing some of our friends that are here. First, and feel free to go ahead and just unmute yourselves whenever you're here. We had so many people test and help behind the scenes. This was not just a matter of the. This wasn't just a matter of the designers doing this. We had an army, and we have someone that's a sergeant in that army and probably has more war stories than they care to admit. One of our lead testers, RBPimlico, is here on the call.
Woo!
Hey, RBP. I don't know if we can hear you yet.
Yeah, I don't think your mic is coming through, but that's cool.
RBP is here, so don't worry.
They can just code up a big solution real quick. They'll be back in 5 minutes with a whole bunch of ASM and fixes. They can hear it, no problem.
Yeah, we're used to things having gone a little bit off kilter or off script, if you will. But also, and it's actually nice that they're here as well, at least for this part. One of our level designers is here with us, CEO Kadelic.
Hey.
Hey, there's CEO. Yeah, we can hear you.
How's it going? Cool. Hi, everyone. Yeah, that race was wild. I'm excited to recap it with everyone. It was very fun.
Well, your and Bergie's level was right off the bat, so we'll be able to get to your level first. But the first thing I want to do, and we have the VOD of the race that we'll be able to walk through and kind of show everyone a little bit of everything. But I want to start with this. Every little bit of this hack had so much love and attention put into it, and right off the bat, I see them in chat. Huge, massive shout out to the Boogeyman. All of the custom graphics you saw, the Mario sprites, the Legends logo, the T-shirts, that was all Borgie. We had this idea. Well, full credit. Kez had the idea of a Legends of the Hidden Temple race, and Borgie heard it and absolutely ran to the hills with it.
It's really good theming.
Mm-hmm. And that's important for us because it'd be one thing if we were just, oh, here are 7 levels. They are good levels. We want to package this in a way that it's not just a one-off. We want people to be able to go back to this and experience it and enjoy it over and over again. And so a theme to us kind of helped tie the whole thing together. The title screen, CO, I believe, was also Borgie, at least the movie.
So the movie itself is actually the vanilla animation. I drew the level design over it, and then Borgie did all the pretty graphics for
I love
everything.
that. I didn't know that, but
Yeah,
I have such a fondness for just take the original path that Mario takes in the intro and just make something there in his way. That's so cool.
yeah.
So
Um,
here's what's really cool about our little group. Everyone kind of saw all this as it was happening in real time. We happen to have a couple phenomenal music porters, and you didn't get a chance to hear this on stream, but when Dan the VP was getting ideas for some music, he saw some of what this was doing, and if you know Dan, you know A, he's a big Barb fan. 2, he's really, really good. If you saw either of his runs at GDQ, he's really, really good at video games. And 3, he is a phenomenal music porter. You combine all those 3 things together, you put him on this hack, here's what you get. I don't know if anyone heard this. This is a custom, I'm going to turn it up a little bit for everyone to hear.
I was going to say, how does Dan find the time to do something this cool and also do 2 really good runs at GDQ?
and also do a custom song for the first level.
Right?
Not to spoil anything, but
A machine,
yeah,
I tells
shout
you.
out to Dan.
An absolute machine. Major shout out to Dan the VP. Let the beat drop a little bit. This is Meat Hook from Doom Eternal. Because when you think of Legends of the Hidden Temple, Doom is the next. So, that's the title screen. Right off the bat, the title screen is a legend. But we get into it. First off, Dinos or Dolphins? In honor, and only in honor of our victor, we'll go with the Dolphins.
You know, I wanted to point out.
Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Oh,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, someone on my Discord, as a way to kind of like start out talking about like the whole race, I think is a good statement. I forget who said it, but someone on my Discord said the race was a lot closer than the scoreboard actually indicated. And going back over the VOD even today, I think that is 100% true. Like there were so many really close moments that just kind of bounced one way or another. Is it just me, or is there a running underlying pinball theme for this whole GDQ? You know, bounce here or there, people mentioning pinball more often. I don't know.
I can see it. But yeah, that's one thing I definitely noticed yesterday too. Even though the final score was a little more one-sided heading into the final level, every single race was like neck and neck the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think. Hopefully, you all can hear me.
Hey,
now.
it's RBP.
Hey.
While RBP talks, I'm going to set my controller up.
And speaking of controllers, incidentally, that's why you couldn't hear me. Discord decided that my primary microphone should be my PlayStation 4 controller, which always a good decision.
Sounds about right.
Just yell into your controller really loudly.
I think I noticed from my own standpoint, I can't think of any level where either team was more than a checkpoint apart. I don't think we had any really wide gulfs, and if there was, it was close enough that they were so close that I didn't notice that anyone was far behind. So it was down to the wire pretty much every level. I don't want to get too spoilery. We'll wait to talk about individual levels when we get there, but I can think of at least one, maybe 2 levels where literally both teams had the victory already in hand, and just took a really bad death right before the fanfare would cue. So yeah, amazingly close race, much closer than the big numbers on the screen for sure.
Yeah, like I think I know what you're thinking about. We'll get to it, but yeah, that was such a cool moment. It's just like they kept saying, and I thought was really accurate in the commentary too, that like it is anybody's game at any time, and I think both teams really showed that.
For sure.
So, fun fact: if you are to go in and download this from SMW Central and see this Good Luck Racers, you might think, "Oh, that's nice." Just for fun, my controller doesn't seem to be working, so I'm going to set that up while the movie's playing. But I'll show you what this looks like when we get a chance, because this is actually a level you can play. Or play is a bit of a strong word here, but it's a level. But our first level is Boulder in the Air by CEO and Borgie. And I am just going to put the VOD on for those of you that haven't seen it yet, and I'm just going to let everyone watch some of the magic that went down, because that's probably the best way to show off. And then we can go back, CEO, and talk about some of the intricacies that the racers maybe just blew past that people may have missed out on.
I think this was a good pick for first level. I hope that maybe the racers agree, the audience agree. It just it felt like just a good first level. You know, it's not going to throw too much at you, but it's just like solid, colorful, fun. Go.
Yeah, Borgie and I definitely wanted to make something to sort of ease the racers in, because obviously this is a pretty high stress environment for the racers. A lot of work getting into it, so just wanted to make sure everyone was kind of eased into it. And all the levels after this are so mind-blowing. I mean, ours is very cool too, but I feel like it starts really cool and then just escalates into unbelievable.
Can I just say, I love Sojo's Yoshi had it, and the mask, it really gives like an effect of almost being like it's just Yoshi doing that. It's like wonderful.
Just a little fun fact: you've probably never seen that Yoshi hat on her stream, because that is the Yoshi hat that blends in with her green screen. So that's the magic Yoshi hat. So this is the first time people have actually seen the green Yoshi hat as it is meant to be seen.
Wow.
Non-chroma key special. Very nice.
I remembered she said she was bringing it. I didn't know that was it for the race. That's funny. So I guess about this first level, like I was saying, Borgie and I definitely wanted to just make like a pretty straightforward Kaizo platforming level. Someone mentioned it in chat actually about the diversity of levels in this. I think that's one of the really cool things about this collab is a bunch of different level styles and like skills were tested in this, which is really neat. Borgie and I just wanted clean platforming, you know where to go. You may get a little trolled sometimes along the way, but it's generally pretty straightforward on where to go. And the racers blew through it, which is encouraging.
Yeah, from my standpoint, testing this and playing this level a couple times, this is a really everyone that's here right now, you've watched the races, you've participated in the races for many weeks, so you kind of know you get the idea, the feeling of something that punishes you if you don't go immediately, and something that punishes you if you do go immediately. You know, you either got to sprint the whole time, or you got to not trust a setup. And this level did a wonderful job of nothing's untrustworthy, but you're also not harshly punished for not just sprinting forward. There's a really nice balance, or at least I felt in playing this level, where the CEO and Borgie are really considerate to their players, letting them actually see and not punishing them for just running forward with their eyes closed, but also rewarding fluid motion and good pace.
I forgot how fast Shoujo actually got through that first segment.
That was the clutch. That was the start of it.
Is wild.
Yeah, honestly, I'm sitting here watching this, and I'm at home, and I'm like, I'm just watching, and I'm like nervous at this point. Like, that was a good checkpoint.
Yeah, I'm glad people got through it so fast.
Looking back, it's funny too, because like it's 2.5 minutes. That is a reasonable amount of time for a section, right? On a what we had 15-minute estimate, right, for each of them. That was like get the racers through in 15 minutes, ensure because that's the hard cap, and you don't want to not finish a level. That's it's kind of a bummer. But looking back, it's like those 2 minutes took a while.
Yeah, 2 minutes feels like both a long time and like a very, very fast time, and I think it's just completely dependent on what side of the race you're on. As a viewer, 2 minutes flies by, but it feels like you get stuck in these levels for forever.
Yeah.
And like even RNG Dolphins here, even though they're in the first segment with 3 minutes, that's still very fast. Like they've seen the end a couple of times already.
Yeah, like consider the Saturday races, right? If we had like a checkpoint in 3 minutes, that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see it. So they, the Dinos got through in what about they got to the section they're on in about 2 minutes or a little bit more than that, and the Dolphins are only a minute 40, past that, and you can kind of. I'm reading into body language here a little bit, but you can even kind of see it's not even been 2 extra minutes, and they're already like. You can see it on them, the desperation to try to get through that, like the gulf between the audience is still just having a good time. It hasn't even been 4 minutes yet, and the racers are, they're in like a different experience of time right now. This just flies by, adrenaline pumping.
The obstacle that Barb's at right there, by the way, probably went through more iteration. I didn't even notice Barb went through on the first block. That's
Yeah,
pretty
that
cool.
was really
I've
cool.
never gotten first
That
block.
is a-
I've gotten second.
That was the mythical speed strat we didn't know if we would ever see.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
I thought it was possible. I didn't realize he not only did it, but did it live in front of everyone. That was wild.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think I might have tried that once or twice in testing, and I didn't get it, and just assumed, oh, you just can't, so don't worry about it.
The second segment that the racers have been on, by the way, is Borgie 100%, in case y'all couldn't tell. This felt very fun to play. I remember seeing this during initial testing and being kind of blown away by it.
So for everyone that hasn't been following, by the way, there's the troll pipe. That troll pipe was legendary amongst the testers. I'll put it that way.
I even still went into it after I played the level. Like, okay, we're on our 5th iteration of this. I'm testing this again. Not the pipe. Don't go in the pipe.
Yeah, I'd be impressed if anyone didn't go in that pipe. To be honest,
It's just
I
right
think
there.
we've
It's just
I think we've
so-
all gone through it. It's so inviting. It's right there.
So for everyone that kind of didn't realize that we were doing collaborations, CEO and Borgie knew they were going to be working together for quite some time. We wanted to bring in as many people as we could, but still kind of put people together that would make cohesive levels. We didn't want to just like draw names out of a hat. So CEO, what was it like for you and Borgie in chat, you can hop into, to like approach the process of, okay, we're working together on this. How do we want to approach this, collectively?
Yeah, so honestly, pretty straightforward. If y'all have played both Borgie's hack and my hacks, they're pretty similar in terms of level design, so in terms of pairing, it wasn't like we were trying to mash like two completely different styles together or anything. But just in terms of like working together, also Shoujo again, by the way. It's gonna be a running theme this race. But just working together in general, it's always pretty fun because I don't know, working alone and trying to design hacks and stuff and trying to design everything on your own. Everyone kind of has their own like strengths and weaknesses or whatever. But when you kind of come together in like an actual collab setting, you can kind of just play off of like what you actually are pretty good at and maybe let the partner take the stuff that you're not quite as strong at, and then it's just a very solid overall level. But yeah, like Borgie kind of mentioned in chat, we've been prepping for this race for actually kind of a long time.
Year and a half.
Yeah, a year and a half. So the initial draft of the first segment was done at about that time. So we've had this idea in our head for a while. So Borgie and I've had a lot of time to kind of spitball and bounce off and back and forth. And I mean, obviously, Borgie's amazing. Very, very good at graphics, very good at level design. Absolute blast to work with.
Shoujo getting that save on the up pipe, by the way, was so clutch.
Yeah,
Yeah, the 2-hit. And she managed to read this part, which just impressed me so much. I mean, that's you just look at that and know it to get down there fast enough.
This falling pipe part is one that I expected racers to die at a couple of times. That coin trail leading up to the like first block was actually like a Wednesday or Thursday addition to the level, so it was like super late into it, but I think that actually helped her read it pretty well, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, it puts you where you should be before you realize why you're going there in the first place.
Yeah. So very cool to watch the racers get through it that fast. In testing and stuff, because that was a pretty solid 3-segment level. Our level was typically like on the higher end when it came to clear times, just because there was a lot of level to cover. So starting off the race with like an 9 minute level, it felt like it was a pretty good pace for us to keep going with.
So we put a lot of thought into level order, and one of the things that we wanted to do, we did this in 2019, and we wanted to do it again this year, was ramp up the chocolate. because we didn't want to just throw the racers right into the most complicated thing they were going to see that day. And CEO and Borgie's level was beautiful. It was really well made, but it was also not the most custom from a gameplay perspective. It had the falling blocks, it had the pipes, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was.
It's pretty vanilla.
It was a vanilla from a mechanics perspective. So we thought it was, even though it was a lot of level, so to speak, it was probably the best introduction to what the racers could expect coming up, if you will.
Yeah, I just wanted to say on the topic of level order and how we're structuring it. You know, we're looking at a lot of different things, like the racer experience, how they're going to feel, give them a warm up to start. So once they get in the zone a little bit, they'll be playing a little more smoothly and they'll be ready to go. And also, I think like from the audience perspective, a lesson learned from this one that worked in the last one and like going forward is like you're always like making them ask, how are they going to top that? And then do that, you know what I mean? And I think we really did a really good job cleverly structuring this with one level in the middle that if you haven't seen it yet, you'll get to see it tonight. That like it'll blow your mind, and it kind of leaves you asking like, well, what could possibly follow that? And then to actually keep topping it right until the end of the marathon, I think is great audience flow. Keeps it exciting the whole time.
Absolutely. Any final thoughts on your level, CO? You're absolutely free to stick around, but that's the level that you had the most heart and soul put into. So anything else on Boulder? And by the way, again, shout out if you didn't see Dan the VP with the Propeller Night port. Huge plays.
Listen to that port. My favorite song in Shovel Knight. Definitely recommend it. Dan did a killer job with it. Borgie did an awesome job. I actually have a little bit more time, so I think I might stick around for a couple more levels because I was able to help test at least a little bit. Might be able to offer at least a little bit on the design side.
So
I wanted to say too, CO, that it was cool to see like kind of like Bun luminescent DLC, like a big luminescent bun up there. It was like it was like I don't know, like a really good sequel, or like getting to go back. Oh, I know this world in particular. It's the world of Bun and luminescent together at last.
I appreciate that, because honestly, Borgie and I have made sure that we both had our flair on the level, and I think we both did a pretty good job with that.
Something I think all the makers did a great job with is showing, you know, their style and how much like individual artistry, how you can kind of tell, oh, okay, it's this. Somebody said, I think it was Doc, everybody's level in this is a really good level by them, right? You really get that flavor from each maker. Like this next level, Tungsten Shoes.
Oh, this level. So, before we get into this level, I want to take a moment and give a special shout out to Margot, who made this Overworld. I don't know if everyone had a chance to appreciate everything that went into this Overworld in the moment, but let's take a look real quick. First off, up in the corner, we have our friend the Thwimp Olmec. As we've called it, the idle coin in our server, as well as an RNG dolphin, which we are going to keep the shirts available in the store in perpetuity. So if you saw the shirts and you want a shirt, now that you've seen the racers have them and you've seen all the logos and the stuff, we're going to keep the shirts available for sale as long as we can.
Nice.
So shop.romhackraces.com if you want your own RNG Dolphins or Double Jump Dinos shirt. But beyond that, Margot, beyond being a level designer herself as part of this, really took time to go in and make the overworld reflect each level. So you
I love when overworlds do that. It's such a trend going on, and I love it so much. I do it forever.
It feels really personal.
We've got pipes and blocks outside of CEO and Borgie's level. We've got the Forest of Illusion trees, which, if you know the song that they used, makes a lot of sense. Plus the sort of the Shockwave logo. Plus you've got footprints because it's a shoe level. It's the only place in the overworld where you have footprints. I believe this speaks for itself.
Footprints are such a nice touch.
Yeah, there are a lot of small details and really, labor of love in this overworld. It was extremely nice.
Shout out to the Double Jump Dinos. We did so. RBP, we'll get to this. No joke, in the last week leading up to the race itself, and when I say the race itself, I mean up to 2 hours before the race was supposed to start, I would say easily multiple hundreds of hours went into putting everything together. Between
the Discord was hopping.
D4,
it was like nonstop.
D4, Fawfold, Darkenine, RBP, TJB with the ultimate 11th hour bug fix of all bug fixes. The whole process was probably one of the most gratifying but terrifying experiences just from a project manager perspective, and I'm sure Fawful can speak to that on site even more.
I was just gonna say, as a player and a level tester, I've never said I found a crash, sorry, and meant it more. I never meant that sorry more in my whole life.
We're not going to share them on stream, but when we get a chance and we're a little more removed, find a playtester for this and ask them to show you their favorite crash from this pack, because they all have one.
They'll have many.
Yeah, I think I don't want to steal any good jokes or good content from Glitchcat, but I do want to say that Glitchcat mentioned that they might keep some of the graphics, some of the visuals, some of the output from the crashes, and use them for projects, experiments, visualizations. And I got to say, I'm really glad that I have a fully intact testing folder with. I think at least 30 builds of the combined the combined patch, as well as some of the individuals. But yeah, I could probably go into any of those earlier builds of the combined and just hit record and go through a couple levels for a couple hours and come up with some really good both visual and audio content when the crashes do happen. It's a spectacle.
Make art out of it.
And I
have a whole little folder of broken ROMs. And there's one in there called Eye Shredder, which will never be revealed to the public because it's a broken thumb shredder that rips the camera horizontally when you pull out a shell. But it's in there just in case we ever need AV.
Beautiful.
And lest anyone think it was one. This hack was equal opportunity. Every level at one point in the course of development played the role of focus. So don't think there was one culprit here. It was very TJB offering to join. Yes, hold on, we'll get TJB in here, but to help keep people going, I'm going to get the VOD going on Tungsten Shoes, G-Breeze, and Miracle Water, the jumpiest thing to ever appear at a GDQ in its entirety.
Can I just say, it is so cool and I correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's people that we've played a G-Breeze Miracle Water level at a GDQ before, and it is so cool because they are just legendary makers to get their work shown off at a GDQ. That was really cool to me. They deserve it a lot.
Absolutely. They deserve to be showcased.
Yeah, and I think this was their first level. They definitely deserved it. This level was very cool. Very easy to read too for being such a custom gimmick. I feel like that's something that every one of the level creators did really well.
It's very classic. It's got the whole level has just a very seamlessly classic kind of vibe. It almost could be real Super Mario World. It's that good. Like a Photoshop that you can't tell if it's real,
So the thing about this level that I find to be so amazing. By the way, joining us here in the call, one of our other 11th hour superheroes, TJB0607.
All right. Hello. Making sure my push to talk works. There we go.
You're good.
So yeah, it was all very last minute. We were working really hard trying to diagnose. There were so many crashes. It was crashing constantly. If this version of the ROM shipped out, 100% guaranteed there would have been at least one crash per team, probably multiple. So we were like really panicking, trying to figure out what was going on. And yeah, it was pretty wild.
Hardlock the console crashes. In some cases, a reset didn't fix it, and you actually had to power cycle the console. We're
Freeze-
talking crash. Like these are hard.
We're talking freeze the RetroArch process crash. Crashes that are
So, like-
crashes too strong for RetroArch to continue operating. Like Windows crash.
Gave
Windows crashes.
It made the Super Nintendo just give up. Like, it's so funny to me.
Yeah, literally it crashed so hard that not only the Super Nintendo crashed, but also the SD to SNES also crashed.
Just really wanted to make sure it wouldn't work.
Oh, it did. It did everything it could. And if you're wondering how that could be possible, here's sort of how a collab like this is done. Everyone working together to build these levels, well, we need them all to build them at the same time. So everyone's working on their own version of a ROM. They just build their level on it, and then everyone tests levels off of those individual one-off patches, so like a ROM hack race. The thing is that once we're done, we have to put them all together onto the same thing. And the thing about it is that sometimes those patches don't play nice together. By the way, shout out to LinkDead, who, I'm not sure LinkDead knows this. LinkDead's testing videos were the videos that we sent to GDQ for their approval of these levels. So shout out to LinkDead for being one of our testers and for helping us get everything together into a package that even GDQ was like, yo, that's impressive.
Did those videos include Pajama Cam, by the way?
You know what? They did. We had full LDAD-W testing videos.
That's what did it right there. I had a thought too, while we're just kind of on that particular subject, and this we could just stash this away for later. It was something I wanted to mention. How feasible would it be next time to just like have the base thing ready and kind of like share a patch for it between, like, how much of this could we cut out by just having us work on a collaborative ROM next time?
I think it would kind of have to change the way people approach how this, like,
that's fair.
I'm sure it could. It's just, it would require a rethinking of the workflow. And that's not a bad thing at all, and it's probably something we should be doing every time we do one of these things. It's just, I'm not sure what it would look like right now.
The workflow post-mortem could come later. It was just something I had thought of.
Yeah.
I think it has pluses and minuses, honestly. Like, speaking from the design
by the
team.
way, read that last room like a...
Oh, yeah, the Boo door. He knew. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was wild. I feel like the racers in general figured out this first room really quick. The second room's very puzzly, so I think everyone kind of expected to be stuck here for a little bit. But regarding the everyone sharing the same ROM thing, I feel like it would be helpful in general, but I think might have potentially deterred some of the more wild stuff that we saw in this if we were restricted to building the same thing. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe we would have just needed to work a bit more at it. But
I definitely. I mean, I'm pretty uneducated on the particulars of how you actually go about doing it. But being in the Discord and hearing and watching the back and forth of people fixing and making it work and combining everything, there's definitely because every creator got to go off and do their own thing, kind of in a silo. They they basically had free reign to just, hey, you do your thing. You make whatever you want to create, and then give it to the people in the center, and they will mold it and push it and get it all to work together. And and maybe if you're forced to start from the standpoint of, hey, let's use, this is the base ROM and it's already kind of hooked up to work in context with everyone else, and here's your little your space where you can make your changes and make your additions, then you as a creator probably learn some of that stuff that D to the fourth, Mark Alarm, Dark9, TJB towards the end, a lot of those people did to get it to work together. But you probably have to learn and pick up some of that up front so that your stuff doesn't break when meshed together with someone else's. But I think like TJB just said, there's the give and the take there, right? There's a you have to create with other constraints in mind in that universe, but then also maybe the end of the process goes a bit smoother, and maybe you learn more.
So the thing is as well, like a lot of this, next time we do this, because we already have the experience from this time, so we can like apply that to next time. One of the major things that was an issue was specifically when you're using a multi-tap. And we didn't have that much testing with that beforehand, so there were a few little issues that ended up avalanching into massive issues.
So it turns out that most Kaizo players don't have a reason to use a multi-tap 99.95% of the time.
But now that we have that figured out this year, we have that for later use. We can just use this same patch that's actually fully working smoothly, and we don't have to figure that out again. So
multi-tap patch I think will pay off huge now that we kind of have that technology more under wraps, for like future events, future live races. For personally, and I wasn't even there, but you know, to be able to use your own controller during a race instead of passing it around, even, okay, so pandemic safety, that's good. But even beyond that, just I like to use my own controller. It feels like how I want to feel, So I think that'll pay off huge for us. Like kind of like how like a bunch of the stuff that they made to go to the moon ended up making consumer products too.
So
yeah, definitely.
I want to take a brief moment from talking about the crash to talk about this Yoshi setup, because I love Miracle Water so much. Because Miracle Water has a way of taking these ideas and making just beautiful setups with them. Like, I think Miracle Water setups are some of the most visually satisfying to watch. And that Yoshi sort of camel jump, if you will, is when I first played it, when I first saw it, it not only looks great, it feels so good to pull off.
Oh, the Yoshi juggle?
Yeah.
Or the fully grown Yoshi juggle? Yeah, absolutely. That is, I feel, both G-Breeze and Miracle Waters as creators, I feel like they have a style that's signature to them, right? But I feel like they don't often repeat things that they've made in the past. They're always making something new or something zany. But specifically the Yoshi ditch and into the double, like the double juggle is so very signature of both of their style. I once I saw that setup, I was just kind of like, oh yeah, I know whose level I'm playing.
There's something really interesting in level design, and it's a really good trick. Also, third wall
on the up pipe.
Yeah.
That I think Doc and I were kind of even talking too. Or like, I wonder. I think third wall might be the one to win the G-Breeze level. That one, I felt that like all the way from home.
Yeah,
but
noted
I was going to say that
and speed. There were a few levels that I felt more, I don't want to say confident in, but more like if certain person doesn't beat a level, they'll be disappointed. And I knew that third wall, someone who loves Odd Sands as much as third wall does, would really be disappointed to not crush this particular level.
they had it. They were right there. I just wanted to point out too, because you're talking about like G-Breeze Miracle Water kind of having a distinctive style, even though it's always new, and it's such a cool trick of level design. I think to where, and G-Breeze and them really excel at this. The whole Jump team does this really well, where you know what it does, and yet you're still surprised by what happens. Right, like for the Yoshi part here, you know that like okay, sprites are popping up, and yet when you go to do this part, it's still a cool, surprising thing, and you go, oh right, I forgot sprites pop up all the time. There's something really fun about that, right? How they always kind of pull the rug out from under you.
It's a real fun,
like it's there, like the rug is there, and you know they're gonna pull it, and still you're like, I didn't know you were gonna do that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Real fun, like surprised Pikachu face moment there.
Yeah, exactly. Just like I can't believe the thing that I'm doing the whole time got me.
Yeah, I think as as creators, and they're really good at, I mean, exactly what you're saying, that they communicate what their intent is, and then they actually execute it. The level actually works in exactly that way. And I think that you as the player getting that jump, that moment of coming to a setup like this Yoshi, and the first time I played it, even I looked at it and I saw the arc of the coins, and mentally I kind of went, is this really going to play out how I think it's going to play out? Like, can you actually manage that? And then, oh, wow, yeah, you did actually manage that. That's exactly how it works.
So, RBP, maybe you can speak to this a little bit. That last set of jumps, those P-speed jumps with the bony beetles.
Yes.
Harder than it looks.
It definitely is harder than it looks. There are a couple things that help with being able to execute that. One of them, honestly, is just having played Odd Sands. There's a very interesting level with some waves, I guess you could say, where you also kind of have to get used to exactly what that section tests, which is these sprites are going to bounce up. You need to be quick, and you need to be deft with how you jump and how quickly you do it. But you also can't get overexcited, because if you get too excited, you're going to start creeping up on your own timing gap, right? You have to be in the air long enough to not run into those bones before they pass back below the Mario Solid tiles. So it's definitely an exercise in jump quickly, leave the ground quickly, but don't be quick in everything you do. Leave the ground quickly. Make sure you stay in the air a good amount of time. It is very hard. However, you really got to have that discipline and that awareness, and not get antsy, not get overexcited.
The up pipes in this entire race were vicious. There was one kind one at the start to kind of lull everyone into a false sense of security, and then from there on out, it was just up pipes eating souls.
But the
I
problem,
think it's
the thing about it is that the up pipes weren't just telegraphed; they were like broad daylight signposted for you.
Oh, sure. Not to suggest it's not fair, but just the up pipe strikes again, kind of. Oh, and then Judge for this final P-speed run.
I would like to say, for the record, that I think this is the greatest end troll of all time. Like,
yes,
across Kaizo, the history of Kaizo, this orb room,
that reaction,
the greatest end troll of all time.
I think the only way this could have gone better would have been if they would have both been in this room at the exact same time.
Yeah,
and it came down to just literally who can figure out that they need to hit the water tile and get in there first.
Absolutely. I can't speak conclusively for Jeep Breeze and Miracle Water, but I feel strongly that if this was not a GDQ race setting, and if this is someone's level, there is no checkpoint in this orb room.
None.
Yeah,
100%. If this was one of their actual hacks, there's no checkpoint in that orb room, and you feel very bad.
Yeah.
We'll say though, shout outs to them, because I remember testing this level like right after it came out. That room always had a checkpoint, so it's not like playtesters had to force it or anything. That was there. They knew it was going to be a little silly troll, and it worked very well.
And it was fair. It was hilarious, but it was also still a perfect use of the gimmick.
Yeah, and you know what's cool? I think the audience had the same, like, a moment of realization at the same time the runners did, right? If you haven't seen that room and you get in there, you'll also be surprised, and then you'll look and notice the water and say, "Oh, it's the water! It's the water!" I like that, right? When like the audience perception of what's going on can like keep step with what the runners are experiencing.
All right. So if you're just joining us, welcome to our little recap stream. My name is Dr. No. We've got two of our playtesters from the relay with the Glitchcat7 and RBPimlico, and one of our level designers, CO Kadelic. We're just going through, watching the VOD, talking about the experience, giving some behind-the-scenes insight, and just celebrating an absolutely phenomenal event. And part of that includes what we're about to talk about, which is BK's level.
Historic Cape.
The first ever. This really is. So we did some research today. This is the first time this tech has been on GDQ stage, an historic moment.
That is absolutely true. I personally went back and tried to review all of the SMW 96 exit runs just to see whether or not anyone actually did this some of the tech that's included in here in this level, and they did not. The 2019 96 exit run actually attempted it, as did the race a couple years before that with Seathorn and others, but no one actually did the tech. They all ended up doing a slower version of the level where this would be used.
So, if you're not familiar, in Jump, there is a level called Horse Eating Disorder. In BK's K-Pack Let's Give Up, there is a level called Horse Flying Disorder. And here in the relay, we have the natural progression of life, which is Horse Flying Disorder DSM-5-TR. I'll let you Google that for yourself to understand what DSM-5-TR means. I see Amazing Chest in chat. We asked the racers what they were comfortable with in terms of tech, because BK wanted to do this level. And we wanted to have a level like this in the relay. But only if everyone... Obviously, we did not tip our hand. Racers did not see this level. They did not know the content of the level. All they knew was the name of the level, the creator of it, and extrapolated some things out from there. We would not have put this in the relay if we didn't feel confident the racers would crush it. Now, we asked them if they would be confident with a level like this, and they said yes. Because of that, what you have here is Horse Flying Disorder DSM-5-TR. And I will say, and I'd let Glitch and RB speak to this, testing for this level presented almost as much a philosophical conversation amongst the testers as it did a technical one.
Yeah, I would say specifically by Dr. No's instruction, when I was asked to help test and take a look at all the levels, I did play everything completely blind. I didn't look at any of the comments from previous builds of any of the levels or anything like that, just to try to get a sense of, if I was playing this, if I was just sitting down and doing this like it was a Saturday race, how long would it take me? And the BK's level was my first time through was by far the longest, but to the philosophical question part, it was definitely you know what, this only took me a while because it's been it's been a couple months since I've touched at or thought about this kind of flight tech, and if I had brushed up on this just yesterday, this would have been an easy breezy succinct level. So it was definitely hey, did it hit the time mark? Well, no, but you know what? If I had a little more idea, it would have been just fine. It's definitely very interesting to try to I guess make a decision on what do you recommend? What do you vote for from that standpoint of, yeah, you know what? If I was prepared, this is fine. If I'm not prepared, oops.
Pain train.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to speak to the philosophical side, I guess, something to go along with what RB was talking about. Something that I think that I learned and kind of talked about throughout this process was it's a little different when we're making a ROM hack race level, because that is assuming a generalized audience, right, of players, a generalized player base, and we can say, well, what will the player do kind of in general and an average of what people will do. But in this case, and I don't mean this in a way, it's just it's difficult to predict exactly what these exact 6 players are going to do at this exact moment with this exact tech under pressure. You know what I mean? It wound up being a little more difficult to predict 6 people versus a generalized audience, but I think the assumption going in is that everybody practiced really tough for this, and it definitely shows in all their gameplay. And as far as this one goes, my thoughts on it were this is like the fairest iteration of this that you can get, right? Aside from just making a level that is just literally an empty room, like a learn to baby trick level where you just do the trick to win. It's a super fair iteration of this, and it doesn't require anything from them other than, do you know how this works? And frankly, I'm impressed that in the time that, even in the time since Dram ran Kaizo 1 back in the day, how far the tech has come to where we can assume that these 6 players will probably be able to deal with advanced Yoshi Flight in front of, I don't know, a million billion people.
I think that is more or less the process, and honestly, I think that is correct. And I mean, as was shown by their completion, we didn't have to call this level, right? This made it all the way through before we hit any time hard caps. So I really do think we made the right call. I think BK made a wonderful level here, and I do think it rides the line very well between it's not too long, it's not too short. It does demand execution from you, but it's also not so dense in what it asks for, either in terms of comprehension or an execution density that you that you wouldn't be able to find your way through it, or you need to look at a clear video. So I really do think it did exactly what it needed to do in the setting, and what I think BK wanted to do out of the level quite well.
I think the way I think about it is that when we sort of sketch this out, and we're hearing a lot, and we're having a big discussion internally about ways that we can make our difficulty rating system better here. But we kind of thought about, okay, what are these levels going to be? Well, we need to ballpark for about a low to mid 4 for any of these levels, because we feel like the racers are quality enough that they should be able to finish a low to mid 4 in less than 15 minutes safely, around 10. BK's level is like the definition of a 4 in our system. That's like a 266 rating.
Yeah, that's pretty true.
So I don't know how well you can see it in the VOD, but Third Wall was in Lungfish's chat earlier talking about literally on stage. He was teaching Barb how to Yoshi fly.
And if you watched Barb's runs, you would have not guessed that he had done that, because Barb picked it up very fast.
Yeah, he picked it up. He picked it up real well, real quick.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I just saw a little snippet of that right there at the I know where the stream and our conversation's a bit lagged, but I think it was at the 304 mark, just about. At Third Wall picked their controller up in Barb's direction, showing probably the little holding Y, tapping X. This is what you do. I think this is very much the this is the perfect representation or manifestation of you sit down in class, 2 minutes before the teacher's going to come around, you whip around to your friend behind you. Yo, did you do the homework?
And everyone knows that student that never does the homework yet passes all the tests.
The answer is Orb.
The answer is indeed Orb.
One thing that I think this level also showcased pretty well, on top of being amazing cape tech, is the 3 lives per rotation thing, and I don't think we've actually touched on that yet. But that was also...
Let the record show, GlitchCat7 came up with the idea for the 3 lives rotation.
Yes. And it was honestly like run saving. So I really wanted to shout that out. I saw Eldad mention it a couple minutes ago, but it was a very, very last minute decision to give the racers 3 lives instead of the intended, or what we had originally planned for the rotation.
Yeah.
And I feel like it really let people get into a groove. They could do their dumb death where they just in this level fall out of the pipe right away and not have to rotate around or whatever.
So
yeah, I noticed too, and something, because you see, especially in a new section, okay, someone will get up, and their first life, okay, they just flop over and die. Second life, they do a little better. Third life, they're nodding and saying, okay, I know, as they're passing it. I don't know, I feel like having, because I raced in the 2019 one, and I remember how that was, and these levels I know are a little bit tougher, I would say, on average, maybe 0.5, maybe just a notch or so higher in difficulty, as to be expected for the growth of the community. But with that comes levels where you're just going to die really, really fast. And so what have you really done? You haven't really, no team has done anything as they've just insta-swapped for the first couple of deaths. And Carl on the checkpoint.
Shockingly, Carl's good at Cape.
I'm gonna say, is anyone surprised Carl's gonna cape? But
This boss fight really came down to the absolute wire. And I want to brag for just a moment in testing. I did do this one tongueless.
Oh, I was actually, I was going to comment on tongueless. I think maybe I was wrong. I think the only person that I saw even attempt a tongueless movement, I thought was third wall. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I swear I saw just a tiny little moment.
I think Carl tried it once.
Oh, was it Carl? Yeah, I swear I saw a moment of someone considering, like, maybe I need tongueless here.
So I said earlier that we did not tip our hand to anything. I will make one exception to that. We explicitly told the racers no. Well, yeah, BK in chat. Nah, he was just flailing. We specifically told told the racers, you will not be required to do tongueless. Because if you have not done tongueless Yoshi Fly, asking anyone to do that in a competitive scenario is not fair. Unless, they are saying, sign me up for the tongueless Yoshi Flight competition.
You can't see, but I've got my hand up in the air.
At least with the lava floor, I do, back to for just a second on the 3 lives thing as well. I think part of the real challenge in this level, and part of the why 3 lives really benefited this level, is you have a very small amount of distance between where you enter either the beginning or the boss room and where death is at the bottom, at the bottom of the level. It's not like a two screen high Mario level where you're flying up somewhere, right? You've got a fraction of a second between you and death if you don't know what you're doing. So real easy to rack up a lot of deaths, and real hard to get into a rhythm like tongueless Fly in a situation like this.
TJ, as our resident Cape expert here, I know you and Glitch both are, really.
Oh, TJB's the resident Cape expert. I am the resident boy that goes to school with the notepad and I fall over on my bike.
What was it like for you to see this type of Cape tech on display on a stage like this?
Well, I knew that I wouldn't be able to get a good measurement for how long it would take the racers, because Yoshi Fly is my favorite mechanic, so I was just tearing through the boss fight. I'm pretty sure it was literally my first try on the boss. I was pretty much doing it tongueless. I was just about to one-shot it. I got the 3rd hit, and then I bounced off of the thwimp directly into the death ceiling after I hit the last hit.
Oh, rough.
That was fun.
RBP, do you want to explain the snake blocks? Because we've had a couple people ask about them.
Sure. So there's actually two different sets of snake blocks. There's one that you can see every time the level starts. There's a little 2-tile snake block that spawns right over or right across the entrance to the pipe, and of course BK can correct me, but I believe that is just there so that the player doesn't get confused or think that they're supposed to go back in that pipe or anything like that. And that's independent from the other ones. The other set spawn across the sides of the stage here, where you would normally be able to access these 3 shells. And the whole point of those snake blocks, they are triggered by the loss of flight state. So if you're on Yoshi here, or off of Yoshi, and you let go of Y or X or whatever it is you're holding that's maintaining flight state for you, those will spawn and slowly cut off your ability to complete the level, essentially.
I did not realize how close Third Wall got to beating this.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, can we back that up for just a second, look at that again in the replay? Because that was...
I'm sorry I talked over that. He was less than a second away from victory.
Yeah, that was... And it was so cool because that would have been completely synced finishes. But if you look at it, it would have gone to Third Wall because Third Wall got the hit. On screen, you can see Third Wall got the hit a little sooner, so would they have both survived? Yeah, there's the hit for Third Wall, and then there's the hit for Carl. If they both survived, it would have been Dolphins. Or, sorry, but yeah. You'll see when it gets there.
There's the 3rd hit.
Look at this sync. So many instances of complete sync in this race. It was so cool.
Yeah, that is so... Yeah, that would have been...
Yep.
Yeah, it was a half a second ahead, but
man.
I had to go back because I remember that from the live, and I actually had to go back later that night and be like, who would have gotten that? It was Third Wall.
Yeah, Third Wall is absolutely played incredible, and it's just very it is very it's it's the way Kaizo goes, right? It's the player doesn't necessarily do anything wrong. It's just it's real easy to be a couple frames, a couple pixels off on an input, missing the up pipe in G-Breeze Miracle Water, and then just being low on that thwomp. I mean, if he was 15, 20 pixels higher, something like that, right? He didn't have to be too much higher to get on the top of that Thwimp hitbox, and
absolutely,
and would have lived. And it's just that's rough getting that close 2 levels in a row. It's rough.
Yeah, and that's how it's like the race was so much closer than the actual scoreboard indicates, because it was so many levels had that synced up moment to moment, who gets it, who doesn't kind of thing.
Any other final thoughts on this level? Because I will be honest, if you had told me 6 months ago that we'd put a Yoshi Fly Cape level in this relay, I would have been like, so are we just trying to go overestimate? Like, is
I have a final thought on this level. I have maybe it's the Apollo Gift of Prophecy dodgeball meme, but I don't think this is the hardest Cape level we'll ever see at a GDQ Kaizo race.
No, I think this is the first of what may be many.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think this is the top here. It's a good level, and don't get me wrong, but it's not the hardest one we'll see.
And also, one quick thing, I highlight something BK said in chat, which I believe is actually Ed BK again. Tell me if I'm wrong in trying to correct myself here. I think you're referring to the 2-tile snake block in the middle as being anti-cheese to stop you from jumping from side to side. So I think that's just to force it so that you can't just grab, or is that also for the side blocks as well? Because I think if you kept just the kind of square shape of that boss room, you could just lose flight and very carefully, grab a shell, hit the boo, get a nice tall jump across the space, but not high enough or not angled such that you hit any of the death blocks, and just keep going from side to side. So both the side snake blocks that cut you off from the shell access, and then the blocks in the center that make it so that you can't get like a maximum arc across the gap. Just to make sure, just to be painfully sure that you are going to fly in that room the entire time.
Mandatory cape.
Mandatory cape. No way around it.
All right. I believe I'm trying to forgive me. I'm trying to get set up to get another guest to join us here real quick. But while I do that, I'm going to move us over on the Overworld, because it's time to talk about this level. This level.
Mind-blowing, to say the least.
Yeah, I gotta get up 1 sec. I'll be right back. Just
go for it.
Carry on without me.
So I have a little bit of a story.
Before we get started,
I guess
absolutely. Yeah. Let's let the story go.
So when we were signing up for levels, a year and a half ago or so, there was a point where we had to basically summarize our levels in 3 words or whatever. Borgie and mine was falling block level. BK's was Yoshi Cape. And this level just said mode 7 rotation or something like that. It was super vague, and everyone was just what the hell does that mean? We have no idea what this even could possibly mean. And then Furby drops this level, and then we're just all completely blown away.
Absolutely.
So I saw that C3 starts next week at SMW Central. If you're not familiar with what C3 is the SMW Central Creativity Convention. I believe that's the official name. Twice a year, SMW Central basically hosts a colossal show and tell, basically inviting the entire community to come out and say, what are you working on? And it's generally one of the biggest and best showcases of some of the latest and greatest things happening in the community. A couple years ago, I want to say this was, if anyone remembers, I don't know if anyone remembers the actual original post. I want to say this was like 2018. This was old. Kaizo Man, as part of a C3, put a demo up. And we have another guest joining us who may or may not have made a level for this relay. That may or may not
Allegedly.
be coming up. Allegedly.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
We can.
Hello.
Awesome. Hey everyone.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us, Maddy, if that is your real name.
Oh, can I be the one to say, thank you, so cool, you're so cool, you're so cool, thank you very much, we love you, you're awesome, thank you. Okay, now we can
got it
move
out
on,
of
right?
got it out of the system.
Yeah.
We're good.
Thanks, bud.
Thanks for saying that.
Absolutely. I can't contain my excitement.
But so Furpy just put the original post from that C3 in chat. We're gonna need to print that post off and hang it in MoMA, because that post is led directly, because I think Furpy saw that post and was like, oh, if you can do this, then I can do this. And shout out to Kaizo Man, who actually worked. I didn't get a chance to see how much they worked together, but I know they were able to talk about it at least a little bit.
Also, this is the level that recent Hacker's Dream creator Anonymous Bloodlust has described as one of the best they've ever seen.
This level,
Those are high accolades.
I agree.
Yeah, this was like my favorite level of the whole thing for sure.
I had the same reaction as the racers, like in my room when I saw it, and I was just waiting for this one. I was waiting because I want to see their reaction. I want to see their faces when it first happens, and they got that good clip on the GDQ Twitter. Perfect.
Can I explicitly call out Carl's amazing reactions for this level, by the way?
Yeah.
I want to make sure y'all watch Carl during this.
The mask was COVID safety, but it did not prevent anyone from seeing any of his reactions or hearing them, even if you couldn't see. Like, I felt like I could hear Carl.
Carl's a wonderfully animated racer.
So we're gonna get this rolling, because there are very few words that we could use to describe this level other than just describe them.
Absolutely. Also, I hadn't seen the original post before. If anyone hasn't seen the post that Furpy McFrosting shared in the chat, I would advise taking a look at it. It is a very compelling showcase, or a statement of value of this mode 7 business.
So a real quick, and I guess TJB, you might be able to explain kind of more of exactly what all had to go into this. Obviously, if you're familiar with the Super Nintendo, you may have known that Mode 7 was a thing. If you're an F-Zero player, you know what it is. Tech demos for Super Nintendo have used it forever, which, by the way, here it is. The most famous PlayStation noise in the history of GDQ.
Is that what that is?
Yeah,
Indeed
it's
it
the
is.
original PS1.
I have never in my life owned a PlayStation. Believe it or not. Fun fact about me. Didn't know that. That's so cool.
There's the Carl dance right there. It's a very nice dance.
So, yes, obviously, you see the ASM required to go and rotate everything. But you might be thinking, what's with the sprite mist? Why is there such a weird background? Why are the graphics just a little different? TJ, can you go into kind of a detail into exactly what Furpy actually had to do to make this level possible? It's not just, turn Mode 7 on.
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly how Furpy did it. I'm pretty sure it's like similar techniques to how he did his KLDC entry, where there was like multiple different copies of the level. I'm sure like that went into play in like creating the different sorts of hitboxes for different parts of the level, stuff like that. But then just mechanically, like technically what's going on with the console, Mode 7 is a very powerful mode for the Super Nintendo, where you only have one background layer, actually. So you can't have like layer 2, you can't have even much of a background, so it has to be this sort of gradient kind of thing. That's basically all you can do. And everything else is just sprites. Anything that's not part of the level part, everything is sprites. The HUD, the like the things up at the top and bottom that are scrolling by, all of those are sprites.
Always has been.
Always will be. Shout out to LaForge. So Furpy said in chat that he worked on this ASM for easily a month. Just the ASM stuff. If you were to open these levels in Lunar Magic, you would have no idea what you were looking at. Because it is just such a... And it's like there's so much happening. And it's like when people think Mode 7, they think, oh, we could spin the screen around. No, Furpy uses every tool in the toolbox. We've got rotation, we've got scaling, we've got skewing, we've got every possible, thing you can do to a screen. Furpy finds a way to do it, and not just do it, but incorporate it into the level design itself. Not just as like, oh, haha, you're playing the level upside down now. No, the level warping itself becomes part of the design of the level, not just the framing for it, and that is mind-blowing.
This is exactly the part in the race, and I think this was perfectly decided to put this here in terms of level order, because this is exactly the part in the race where once this level is done, you're just thinking, how are they ever going to top this? And then proceed to just keep hitting it out of the park. I think this level worked better as a middle level than a finale. You know what I mean? Like, nothing on quality, but where it is in the order. It's got it, put it right in the middle.
If you'll remember the 2019 race, this is the D4 slot. The middle level in the 2019 race was D4's the rotation level, which had the first time any of us had ever seen sprite stacks in a competitive sort of serious level setting. D4 used them in her troll hack, but she had never pulled them out for a, I don't want to call it serious, but a traditional Kaizo design. So in 2019, this level slot gave us sprite stacks. In 2022, this level slot has given us Mode 7 Kaizo.
This was a very good race, too. I mean, again, super tight, right down to the actual last. They were both, again, on the final checkpoint at exactly the same time. And if this is the section I'm thinking of, Sojo's about to go Super Saiyan again here and read this final part. Everything after, the bullet bill from right about here, where she is. I know the stream is a little desynced, but that was a read right up to the end.
Yeah, this level in particular, there's a lot of rooms in this level, because obviously there's a lot of cool stuff going on, but, the racers are just neck and neck with each other through all of the rooms as well as the end, which is just super impressive.
The zoom in at the end got me.
It's my absolute favorite. It's my favorite.
What else could possibly happen?
It's so good.
What else could... I think my one feedback about this level, or a few, because this one just was... I think really well designed mechanically from the start. I know we went through some iterations, but my one feedback for this was we could have more of the giant pixel section. You do 2 things, so we can make that longer.
Yeah,
and Sojo with that drop into the orb, Shovda. This was so cool because Shovda had it, and they both had a shot at dropping into that orb, and just who got it, who didn't.
Third one would have gotten it within the next 20 seconds if they hadn't just immediately bailed on it.
Shovda literally died to the last possible death block there. Literally the last possible death block. She was so close to that orb.
It's funny how many races almost came down to the winner was decided by less than 10 seconds or something, right? If one person hadn't slipped or something, I mean, so it goes, right? That's no display on, or no reflection on skill. But it's interesting to me how many races were actually 10 seconds apart.
So just to call out a thing that Meatloaf said in chat. So is it reasonable for the average creator to go into Lunar Magic and start making Mode 7 levels? Nope. Not to say that no one could do it, because very obviously Furpy did it. That said, the amount of work that Furpy put into this level specifically was gargantuan. And they deserve all the flowers that they are getting for this, because the level is brilliant, not just from a technical mindset, but just as a level itself. Like if you didn't know how technically impressive it was, you would still be blown away by how good this level is.
It looks as technically impressive as it is, right? Like even if you don't know what's going on, I feel like you can look at that and be like, wow, there is some magic here. That's like some r/black magic effery. Which is
It
really
is
just a sub
definitely-
of people being like, how did they throw the coin into their pocket? But
it
I
is
digress.
definitely wild. It also, I mean, Furpy did an incredible job of putting it together and providing it, I think, to all of the testers in a in a actually fully assembled and working state. But it really, I think it's a testament to just how monumentally challenging and magical it is that throughout the process of putting everything together, it was definitely I more than once beat the level at random times that I did not expect to beat the level. I would just kind of do a jump, and then suddenly I would get victory fanfare, and the level would end, but not be sure where to put me, which was very interesting. But yeah, it is definitely a wild. Just to to also, I guess, put a little more context on the can anyone just go out and build this level? I have to imagine no. I think it takes a lot of finesse, a lot of very carefully stitching the stitchable things together.
Yeah.
One could learn.
Mm-hmm.
You would have to study at the altar of Furpy for that one, though, because that is there. And I will say that there are other resources that were created for this. So the music, I know that Segment 1 Zone 2 did the music for this level. So if you were to go and pull this off of SMW Central, which I highly suggest you do. In fact, I'm going to show you what I mean. Actually, no, I'm not, and there's a specific reason for it, actually. If you were to go and download the version of this off SMW Central, the music for this level is actually different. And that's because Segment 1 Zone 2 did a port so good for this level that it tripped Content ID.
Yeah.
So we couldn't use it because that was one of the requirements we had for our levels, was that they could not violate Content ID. So luckily, if you don't know Segment 1 Zone 2, they are an absolutely incredible chiptune porter who just happens to have a catalog of incredible stuff on SMW Central, including a port for Darkman, the NES game, which we ended up using for the stage version of this level. If you go and pull the version of SMW Central, you'll get the original OG Chubby Chubby Chip Chip port that Seg did for this hack that we wanted to put on stage, but had our hands tied a little bit.
Someone in GDQ chat noticed the deep cut port and commented on it like right when the level started, and that was just like, oh, you're paying attention.
Segment also did the music for the credits. That was a blessing, because Segment was like, hey, I've been doing these chip tunes. I thought it was really cool, so I found this other one. I think, hey, what do you guys think? And we were like, okay, that's instantly our credits song. But I say that to say, Dan and Segment, now that this is out, they have I guess it's up to them whether or not they push their stuff out on SMW Central, but that's their call. I know Segment wants to, or at least has talked about wanting to. I don't know where Dan's at on that, but we want artists to be credited for the work they do, not just the level designers, but everyone that put in for this. And if you get the credits for this hack off SMW Central, we tried to get as much in there as we could. because so many people put in so much to make these levels possible. Not just the makers, not just the testers, but everyone who makes graphics, sprites, blocks, patches, all of it.
It takes a village.
So Furpy's got a screenshot of his lunar magic work. He put in chat. Maybe we can put that up on screen.
I will. Let's see here. I'm gonna save this.
The middle of the level looks like you're just like in map 16 and trying to make a tile set work. That's amazing.
So if you're not seeing it, this is what Furpy's level looks like in Lunar Magic.
I like
love
the
the string of, like,
juxtaposition of
1,
the
2,
racers
3.
like looking up at that like, oh my god, we have to do this.
Totally comprehensible. Yeah, I understand exactly what's going on.
I love the 13 custom sprites in the middle, by the way.
You know, you could do a cross stitch pattern out of this and frame it on your wall.
So if you ask, can you do this in Lunar Magic? Yes, you can, but one of these days we'll let Furpy do a full masterclass on all of this. But that is going to be their legacy. Speaking of legacy, it's time to talk about our next level. And luckily, the creator of the next level allegedly is here on the call, from what I understand.
Yeah, that was allegedly me.
So Margot put a lot of love into this Overworld. One of the things that we unfortunately were not able to do, and believe me, we tried, with everything that we had to go in to the last week, we could not get the full shout out we wanted to put in for this level, which was a full swap of the player sprite. However, if you'll notice in the Overworld, engraved in the cliff of the Overworld, we do have a shout out. Our friend Sonic the Hedgehog is in the hack.
That's actually the first time I've noticed that.
Shout
I
out
did not
to
notice that either. That's amazing.
shout out to Margot for the for all of the love and for all the love and detail that she put into this Overworld. But this is Thrice Ghosted. This is allegedly Maddy's level.
You know, I didn't understand the name of it until the race, and then you'll see what happens, and I went, oh, Thrice Ghosted. Oh.
Honestly, like, the way I make SMW levels is to come up with the title first, and that's the case for this level too.
That's
Yeah,
really good.
I would love to hear about your process or thoughts that went into making this. Anything you'd like to share?
My first concept for it, because I just liked the title Thrice Ghosted, so my first concept was it's a level. This was before it was for the race. Like, this is a level concept I had for the Sonic hack. And it was a level that you have to beat 3 times. Like, it has 3 exits, but each exit is a switch palace that changes the level.
Oh, wow.
So you like go back into the same level 3 times in a row, and it changes each time. But it just never. It was just so hard to actually do.
Shout out to that text block, which was in there from literally day one.
The text box is amazing.
There is actually a very small Easter egg that well, we're gonna keep calling it an Easter egg. It's a feature, not a bug. That no one saw during the race. But if you happen to get to that message block without having died from entering the level, you would bring the vanilla Super Mario World HUD back into display.
Okay.
So what you're used to seeing with the little, the item block and the score and the timer, all of that is taken out actually pops back in if you hit the message block before dying, and then pops out again the next time you die, or the when you get to the end of this section.
No, we don't know
That's
why.
wild.
I am amazed this game works.
This entire collaboration is held together by prayer and string.
Yeah.
There's a reason Carl and Fawful offered donation bids to per soft and or hard lock of this. That wasn't just for the memes. That was a legitimate incentive that they were putting out there. In part to make everyone feel better, but in part because they thought it'd be funny if it actually happened on stage.
Yeah, I just want to say this upside down sprite interaction, especially here that Barb's doing with the gray winged platform, so cool, and it feels like exactly right. Like there's no jank detected. Very very nice.
Yeah, that was D4. Like I showed off a rough concept of doing reverse gravity, and I had made the cloud drop enemies work with reverse gravity, and she kind of DM'd me, like slid into my DMs, and was like, oh, by the way, I have reverse beans and reverse wing platform. And I was like, sweet, I will definitely use that.
I love the sort of I like to use the phrase like a Swiss Army knife kind of level design where it works from below and then you switch around and now you're standing on the top of it and you switch around again, getting really good utility out of all the different elements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it lets you make it really dense.
So
I also appreciated how heavily checkpointed this level was. I feel like it really let the racers kind of show off and let you build a lot, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, the idea was kind of that it would let them trade back and forth more, like the lead, and I think it worked because each H is like a potential for one of the teams to get stuck or one of the teams to get a first try.
I did want to ask you about specifically. We saw Barb actually hit it. It's not really a troll, but the cloud drop that keeps you from getting a midway if you hit it.
Oh yeah.
This one right here.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to have a checkpoint that was more dynamic, that wasn't just like a static, like, oh, you get here and it's a checkpoint, but like a checkpoint that was more mechanical in some way. And then that it actually was a lot harder. There actually used to be a Kaizo block right below it as well.
Oh, of course.
But I took that out before we started testing, so no one ever saw that. But and then the section after it got a lot easier too, because I think it's cooler. This didn't happen, unfortunately, but I think it would be really cool if someone missed that checkpoint and one-shot the next section anyways.
That
and
would be really cool.
Like leapfrog to the next checkpoint. Like I wanted that to be a possibility, but it didn't quite happen. I think Barb was close.
So
I wanted to say I think it's so cool how. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you tell your story first because I think
Oh,
I'm going to take.
All I wanted to say was I think it's really cool how you designed this level with the race meta itself in mind, right? There's the level design, there's whether, what do you do in the level, what's the gimmick, there's the tightness, the looseness of the obstacles, how much is too much, should it be a 2-tile or a 1-tile. But then even underneath all that, you're thinking in terms of making an interesting race out of it with the multiple checkpoints to change the lead a lot and the ghost checkpoint that might ghost you. That is so cool, and I would love to see more race levels that kind of have a thought towards like the actual meta and dynamics of the race.
Mm-hmm. It's a really cool like use case to design for, I guess you would call it, of like a live event where none of the people have ever played the level before, and it's like a one-time thing. Like, just as a game designer, just thinking about like what are the things you could do in that situation that you can't normally do is really exciting because there's a lot.
Yeah, that's I just like the way you put that. That's a really interesting perspective.
It does. It feels kind of like I'm sure there's probably there's a better metaphor out there, or a better stitch up of ideas. But it's a level designer, game developer, makes a meal or cooks a dinner kind of thing, right? Like it's there on the plate just then. That's it.
Yeah.
You have to enjoy it then in the moment.
Yeah.
There was that falling platform right before the checkpoint here, and
Yes.
I was really sure. I was even playing, and my wife was hanging out. I was testing it. I'm like, everybody's gonna die right here. I don't think they did. I think they all were just like, oh, falling platform, whatever, see ya. Like they were so ready for that.
Yeah, I think it's because your natural, like in a race, you're trying to go fast already,
Yeah.
so it's like the natural inclination carries you through it. And that's what I was hoping for, so I'm glad that worked out. This section, though, right after that, I was not expecting anyone to get stuck on this. I thought this was a lot easier than it ended up being.
I ended up calling
climb is tricky, but it definitely hung up people.
I ended up
There's
calling
a
it the
fun-
salmon ladder because you're going upstream.
It is like you're climbing a waterfall. There's a fun odd little particularity here with this end bit that I definitely I noticed after testing over and over again that when you approach the salmon the waterfall at the end here, if you haven't died, and this is true if you
Wait
have
for
died and
it.
you're spawning from the midway, you can get kind of different timings against the waterfall.
Right.
Yeah.
So what just worked there for Juz, where he traded, he did the weave back and forth. That works much more reliably if you're spawning from checkpoint. If you're just getting there, most likely the way you've moved the screen, that doesn't actually work, and you're going to need to double back twice on the last two, on
Right.
the last two boos.
Yeah.
And the amount of slow fall you're putting onto it after the
yeah.
second to last one is going to change where you enter the cycle pattern of those.
Right.
So, Juz getting this midway after getting the troll block also in the same 3 lifespan is low-key massive gaming.
That was a
Yeah.
very good read because they
Lot of
managed to
progress.
just roll with it, right? Something unexpected happens and then they just keep playing and okay, they just get it.
My favorite thing about that in particular, and Glitch, you can speak to this because you were in the 2019 race. If this were the 2019 race, the level would have ended there. Like, the level absolutely would have just ended there. It would have been that section, and we all
You know
would have
what?
said...
You're right. I think you're right, yeah. Or maybe
But-
there would have been, it maybe would have trolled you and taken you to a checkpoint room like the orb room from Tungsten Shoes.
Yeah.
That it would have just
Right.
been something smaller. And this was, I think, one of those areas where we were talking about this in testing and saying, okay, this level is long, you know what, but it's got checkpoints, it's fair, it's really funny. I think the Razors are up to it. That was a phrase that I think got thrown around a bit. And I'm not trying to, put too much pressure on them. I don't think anybody was, but we were right. They were up to it, and they did a really good job with it. And the second one...
I'm really glad that the alleged creator dreamed big in that way here and made this, a very involved, and long. I mean, appropriately long, but yeah, it just didn't cut it off at the let's play it at the safe length. There's just so much good content in this level, so
Yeah,
I'm very
I
happy
thi-
to see that.
The part up until you hit the block and you get the record scratch, I thought of that as like going up the hill on the roller coaster, and then the rest is like the downhill. Like there's so much momentum for the rest of the level; it goes by so fast. And it kind of has to because they've already like to sell the fake out. They have to feel like they played a full level already, right? So the second half has to be a lot smoother.
Blarshu with
Yeah,
a
I
question
think-
in chat, by the way, real quick. Blarshu asking, would the Kaizo be at the end if you were upside down still? Actually, if you were to weave through that entire waterfall upside down, you just fall. You just fall straight through
Yeah,
it.
you just die.
Was
Yeah.
it just me, or were the dinos trying to go for that strat?
They were.
I think I saw that
thought
one.
maybe
I
I
think I
saw
saw
them
that
looking
So,
over
what...
and
here's-
being like, "Oh, just go, just fly up there. You don't have to do that or something." Like,
So the
you know,
question-
I'm not. I'm just saying.
what I thought Shabda was trying to do was go upside, was to thread through it, going upside down, hit the last one, climb back down the waterfall, hit the reverse gravity block, and fly up that way clear.
Oh, you know what? That's actually super smart.
Oh.
Actually, I thought they were just trying to be cheesy, but that's a brilliant play.
I don't think anyone... I certainly didn't think to try that.
I
didn't
think
even
no matter what you, because if Mario's sprite is oriented upside down, you can't trigger those Kaizo blocks. And I honestly I'm not even 100% sure if they're. I assume they're not like vanilla Kaizo blocks. I'm assuming there's some other magic there that triggers the sequence to get.
Yeah,
out of
it's just
section.
it's a Kaizo block disassembly that like triggers a flag.
Final
And then-
obstacle. Final obstacle.
Sojo.
Shout out to you, Fail Me, for being the only tester brave enough to admit they died to the fish.
I like how Sojo actually reacted. Did you notice
Yeah.
that? He saw the
Yeah.
fish and backed up. Like that was really clutch.
And then just didn't care at all about this ending.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay, so
I
the
think
ending of
she
this
did-
one
she
was
did
how
the
pretty
math.
much. Oh, excuse me. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was just gonna being somewhat quippy, but I was just saying I think Shoujo did the math there and was just kind of like, nah, there's no way this is real.
yeah.
Yeah, I
He
did
considered
the
it
same thing
for
in
a
testing.
second and then was like, nah, I'm going.
This was how the ending of this one was like almost the ending of every single level, right? Where like someone finishes. I think this was less than a minute apart from each other, right? Like Sojo's done, and then the next person playing is going to clear it right now. Almost every level wound up this way, and except for a few unfortunate deaths. I just really want to put that point home that like the race was
Yeah.
a lot closer than the scoreboard indicated.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
To celebrate what everybody did.
Is it possible to pass the spikes legit? Multiple testers did and didn't realize it was fake until we told them.
Yeah. I was actually hoping that the racers would spend longer lining it up, but I think by then they were just so, so like I have to get to the end that they just went for it.
There's a little bit of mental like adjustment and again and the kind of mathematics in a rough way that I think comes naturally to anyone here that's done the Saturday races a couple times. You kind of when you know the numbers, like what the testers have said, this is how difficult the level is. When you play through enough of any given level, you can get to certain parts and look at it and just kind of plausibly go, you know what, this is probably not as hard as either I'm tricking myself to think it is, or it's not as hard as the setup wants me to believe it is. Right? You can kind of get to that point, and I think, those 6 are very experienced players. I'm sure that I'm sure they did that math a little bit, right? And just look at it and go, well, you know what? I'm going to line this up against everything I just did. I think there's a 50% chance this isn't real, which that's just good. That's good reading.
Yeah, it is good reading. Absolutely. Yeah. It was so fun to make this. I'm really glad y'all invited me.
Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed it.
Really is an
Thank
honor
you for being a part of it. It was
Absolutely.
very fun to design with you.
It was very fun to test. It was an amazingly well made level. It by no fault of yours did I think I ever experience any kind of break or crash or unintended behavior in the level. I know that when everything was put together, you had a very finicky little like 1F0 style block. The things that you put the keys on. When everything got merged together, for whatever reason, that block shared an address with something else that someone else was doing. So it kept getting replaced with Mario Solid, so that instead of just holding the key, it would hold Mario also. Which, comically enough, whatever disassembly you did with the Kaizo blocks at the end of the section, because of how that worked, there was a block somewhere where you could end up landing on it after you hit the Kaizo block. There's somewhere that you could end up landing and not leaving the screen immediately, even after hitting the fake Kaizo block or the thing that's supposed to take you to a few moments later. And when that happens, because you've landed, it's when you let yourself leave the screen, if you throw yourself off of whatever saved you, it'll still take you to the a few moments later screen, but then you're stuck in a death loop forever.
No.
And then it's perpetually a few moments later for the rest of the time.
And it is perpetually a few moments later. It's forever a few moments later, which is very interesting. Just an odd little quirk. An intersection of things that you wouldn't expect.
I'm glad that one didn't ship. That would have been pretty catastrophic.
So are we.
Yeah, very much so.
But we both found it, because I had that happen to me too, and we both found it really funny. Because I think actually RBP found the solution to getting past the death loop, and it was just mash.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did. I mashed out of it. I'm not even sure exactly what or how. I just did every combination of L and R and every button that I could. I did eventually mash my way into the next screen. No idea why, but I managed.
Yeah, I have no clue why that would work.
It's the little things.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of. RBP mentioned,
it must have been Ace. DKill has got me there. I must have done some arbitrary code execution.
RBP brought up the whole testers losing, playing a level so much that you lose concept of exactly just how difficult it is. On the topic, let's move on to Ode to Lesbian Worm.
The best title in the hack, maybe?
The greatest level name to ever grace
Definitely.
The GDQ stage.
Just real quick, I actually have to go
thank you.
watch my kid. But it was a pleasure to work with y'all, and it was a pleasure to join in on this call and chat about the stuff. And watching this was such a joy. Everything went so well. So yeah, thank you. And,
thank you so much. We're so honored to have you. The Kaizen community, I definitely can. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna speak for everybody. Thank you. We're just super hyped and honored. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a wonderful community that I'm happy to be a part of. So thank you, and I'll see y'all later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Maddy.
you so much.
Bye.
Wasn't that so cool? This is so awesome. I can't believe it. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so amazing.
Famous people are friends. So, It's time to talk about Ode to Lesbian Worm.
I love this level.
And I'm going to get the VOD going because we're going to need all 15 minutes for this baby. But I would like to put into the world that anyone that has ever played an idle level may not have thought that an idle level in a race setting would work. And I'd say that not as in any way as a dig to idle, because I love idle as a person and as a creator, but idle's level style does not lend itself naturally to this type of constraint.
Idle cannot be constrained.
No, not in any way, shape, or form. And I think this level is a testament to how much trust we have both in our racers and our creators to say, be you. Be as you want. We don't want you to make cookie cutter levels. We want you to make levels that are yours. And this is an idle level. Well, this first half is an idle level. Idle and Margot combined in a lot of ways, and Margot, low key, is like first team, like all pro for this project for the amount of work she put in. But this feels like an idle level. And I want to say real quick, the racers got this checkpoint in 30 seconds.
Yeah, this first checkpoint flew by so fast. I was floored by this.
Yeah.
I think the decision to put a checkpoint in this part really helped out.
So,
because initially this didn't have one.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a real quick moment. And CEO can talk to this as a designer. We had a moment, probably, what was it, early mid-March? Maybe later than that, where basically we all had what I would call basically a come to Jesus moment about level length and time.
Yeah.
And one of those things was we need to be ready to adjust if necessary to not just hit the time limit of 15, but if every level goes 15, we're going to go way past estimate, because 15's not our goal. 15 is our emergency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as the designer, as one of the designers, I guess, it was both stressful and really cool to try. Like someone mentioned earlier, constraint breeds creativity. And I feel like having a clear time in mind when you're trying to design a level is like such an arbitrary thing to like actually try to design around. Like, you want to make a level that's fun, but you also want to make a level that like isn't just run to the end or like just fly to the end or whatever. Like, you want to make it visually fun both for the racers and for everyone at home or whatever. But then you also don't want to make something that's so hard, like Doc said, that either every level's going up to that 15-minute timer or some are going over, and all of a sudden we don't have like any room in between runs to like let people like get set up or do donations or whatever. There was a lot of stuff going on, and I'm sure anyone who was on the design team for this can attest to it. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on that you wouldn't typically really care about in a typical Kaizo setting. Like, if this was Idle's hack, I can almost guarantee there wouldn't be a midway there.
Oh no,
and like
that was my suggestion.
Yeah, and like I don't even know if there would need to be one if it wasn't a race setting, honestly. But just to keep people like moving along, and once you've seen the first, but it's a very interesting philosophical thing.
And to think about like how that it compounds. Think about like the racers crushed that first section and got that first checkpoint in 30 seconds. That's 30 seconds of level they never have to play again. If that checkpoint wasn't there, every single one of these second half attempts would have to have that 10 to 15 seconds of gameplay tacked onto it.
Yeah, and considering how close it got. Also, shout-outs to Barb right at the end.
Yes.
I think it was Barb and Sojo who just got it right at the end. This
Clutch
was to what kind of CEO was saying. This was a good example, I think, for me of learning, like, okay, if this were a ROM hack race level, I would be fine to just ship like the first iteration of this. Right. This was one of those cases where this is a fine level. There is nothing wrong with this. However, for a race situation specifically, and it became more difficult to predict the exact reactions of these exact 6 people as opposed to a general player base for a ROM hack race. If this were a ROM hack race, some would have cleared this really super fast, and some would have taken a long time. You'd see more of a spread, right? But here we have to actually figure out, okay, what are these exact 6 people going to do?
And that's
It's helpful because we know them and we know what they're going. We know they've practiced. We know their kind of style. It's helpful in that way, but it's also difficult because you're not thinking of that general player base. You have to think, what are these, how is it going to go in this moment?
Well, I think, I don't know whose idea it was, or if this is just so industry standard that it wasn't anyone's specific idea, but the notion of getting, a mass of people that, people like, myself and everyone else that tested that the creators, Dr. No, GlitchCat, are all familiar with as human beings, and just do this from the empirical side of things. Give the creators intent and target, but let them make whatever, and then go through the iterative process of having people having human measuring sticks, right? That you can roughly say, like, okay, I understand how this human that's going to play this is, can kind of be compared to the six humans that are going to do it in the race setting, and then just compare our times and, have recordings of us playing the levels and look at where we get stuck, and then just kind of chisel away at it from there so that it conforms to the shape that it needed to be. Was just a really good way to do it, because no creator is gonna nail it. I don't think it's possible to make your own thing and say, yes, another person that isn't me is going to play this in exactly this amount of time. That'll never work. So doing it from the empirical observation standpoint and working backwards was a great way to do it.
I will tell you from my perspective, that was the most stressful part of the entire process, was trying to take a look at the, lack of a better way of putting it, the data, and trying to be like, okay, if these testers average 9 minutes on this level clear, what does that mean in terms of stage safety? Is that good? Is that bad? Do I need to add time? Do I need to take time away? And really, there's no math. There's no formula for it. The closest we could do is we had Louis and You Fail Me play the 2019 levels. Now, they weren't blind to them, but it had been a good few years since they'd seen them. So it wasn't exactly a fair comparison, but it was as close as we were going to hopefully get. And we had them do that, and then we compared their times to the times of the stage clears from 2019. And from that, we were kind of like, okay, if this is what we can think, then it's roughly this much of a time difference between a top player's quasi-blind clear and a stage time. That's about as close as we could get.
I say it was good to have the second round testers, because we had people who played it and tested them for a while, but then you've seen the level so much that now you're good at it and you know what's coming up. So we then brought in people who were new, who hadn't been a part of the first or second round, to see it again, because that freshness helps, right? If you have the same people testing over and over, you get so comfortable with it, your opinion is no longer helpful. Not in a mean way, you know what I mean? I recognize the point where I've played this level too much to have any good feedback on it, because I know everything that's coming up and I'm familiar with it. I learned it now. So you need that fresh perspective, that sight read.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there's a good reason. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Sia, I know you do a lot of playtesting, but also as a creator, playtesting with motivation and intent in mind changes a whole lot, both what you are asking a playtester to do, but also what you as a tester are trying to accomplish with the time you have with a level or with a hack.
Yeah, and especially for this level, for instance, once you get up to this part that Shoved is at here with the 4 falling platforms and stuff, this segment, once you know what to do, it's relatively you can kind of do it. It's still tricky, but you can do it fairly often. But it's so hard once you've shown this level to someone once to ask them to repeat learning that process when they already know what it is. So, like Glitch was saying, that second round and third wave, or however many different waves of playtesting we had, was super important for this specific event because we were trying to see, all right, how are these really good Mario players going to do in a setting where they have to figure this out in front of, 80,000 people or whatever it was? Like, this is a very intense segment, and it's a little hard to see, actually. I noticed on the GDQ restream, you can't really see like the outline of the snake path quite as well as you can when you're actually playing the level.
It makes a huge
so
difference.
So the racers have like slightly more information than I think the people at home did. But it's still a lot of this segment in particular, figuring out where you need to be and when you need to be. And one of the cool aspects of Kaizo... up pipe.
Once again, that's like the third up pipe.
It's the third up pipe the third wall has hit, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Third wall is going to remove every single up pipe from any hack that's working right now.
Yep, no more up pipes.
Strategic.
No more up pipes for third wall. Speaking of how difficult it is to kind of rewind your brain once you've gotten used to playing something, this level is actually a great place to talk about it if the rest of the crew wants to kind of get into what was happening on the 11th hour and whatnot.
Yeah, TJ.
TJ's got a lot to weigh in on here, but this level, all the levels, but this level is kind of proof of that you can't, once you get to a certain point, you can play something so reliably. It's hard to remember how hard it is towards the end, because the multi-tap implementation was all that mattered from a functional testing standpoint. If you don't have a multi-tap and you have to test on it with only one controller, you can only play a level 3 times. You can only die. Your third death, you lose control of Mario, because the control of Mario passes to the next controller. That's how the multi-tap implementation works. So to do functional testing, we all had to get to the point where we could play any level reliably from front to back in less than 3 lives. And that's just kind of the point you get, that's the point that we had to get to. So once you're there, it really is hard going backwards to hey, is this level too hard? Is it not hard enough? After a certain point, you can't be an accurate judge. You can't do it when you can beat a level reliably in a single life or 2 lives.
So I mentioned earlier that at some point during the process of creating this collab, every level had its moment in the sun in terms of being the problem child. I know Furpy's had time. I know Maddy's allegedly had some time where it was causing issues. Even the vanilla ones had moments where they were causing some grief for all of us.
I was gonna say I definitely had time in the sun too.
I'm sorry to report that for our 11th hour panic, this was the level that caused us the most headaches, and I'll let TJB explain why.
So the thing is, as I mentioned, the problem only happens with the multi-tap patch. But the other thing is that the problem only happens on lag frames. So this is the level where there were these tiny 1-frame bits of lag here and there. And we were trying to stamp out every little bit of lag. We were optimizing the sprites. We were doing absolutely everything we can, but then it would still keep crashing every time. We spent hours and hours playing this, all these testers just working together, trying to figure out why it's crashing so much. And then eventually, Darkanine brought up one little bit of the code. He was like, oh, by the way, the code does this. Hopefully that's not a problem, but just thought I'd mentioned it. And suddenly, all of the trace logs I looked at, everything, suddenly it all clicked. Wow, that literally explains every single crash that we've gotten. Oh my god, we need to fix this. We need to try this out. I remember just going in and just literally jumping around. It was so satisfying to just jump around where we kept getting crashes, and it would not crash, it would not eat any inputs. It was just working flawlessly, and I was just so happy to finally be able to just literally just jump around on some platforms and not have it crash.
Yeah, I don't know what Scratch RAM is, but
it's important.
But it's important, and it basically solved. TJB solved all of our problems through realizing the intersection of Scratch RAM and the problems we were having. So the next time I'm playing or play testing anything and I don't like something, I'm just going to say that there's probably a problem with the scratch RAM, and I'm just going to take that with me everywhere.
It's a good escape. It's a phenomenal scapegoat.
Exactly.
The other thing is that I don't think we've mentioned this at all at this point yet. Mark Alarm wrote this multi-tap patch from scratch. And I don't say the scratch. I mean, I know we just mentioned scratch RAM. This is Mark Alarm's absolute, amazing patch to make multi-tap possible. Having Mark Alarm not just make the patch, but be part of the active process making this whole thing possible has been a major reason why it was able to happen at all. But Mark, not just commentating, not just playtesting, but being part of the 11th Hour team to help put all of this together, absolute overwhelming from someone that is very clearly not nearly as technically skilled as the people working on this. It was historic to watch happen.
I just want to jump in real quick and say I checked the logs. Yo, GG Barb with 3 seconds to go. But I checked the logs, and then Sojo gets it right on this life, as it was for the whole race. I checked the logs. TJB dropped that fix for us at about 3 hours before the race. It said 9 p.m. on my end, so that was 3 hours. We are on stage in 3 hours, and then TJB is solving it. Also, Mark Alarm, great job on commentary. I didn't even say that, but they did a really, really good job. Mark, Kez, and Amethyst. Let's talk about that for a minute. They did great. I'm really pleased with that. I don't know, just think they did awesome.
Yeah, they played off each other really well.
And they truly were totally, Kez and Amethyst were very... This was their true first impression of all the levels. And part of that, and you may have noticed that Kez was very much on active reserve. We didn't know until I don't want to say, I don't exactly know when Shoujo found out she was clear to come, but it was definitely much closer to the race than anyone was comfortable with. So part of that was by design. Kez was not seeing the levels because there was a very, very real period of time where we thought Kez was going to have to tag in, which would have meant hitbox multi-tap. We were ready.
Would he have had to lug the thing around with him in the chair?
No, it would have stayed at the table. You fail me. Ask the question. So the multi-tap worked with the Bluetooth adapter? No. Well, yes and no.
It worked for me.
Yeah, it worked for TGB, but I know TGB was playing on NT.
Yeah.
The racers were playing on RGB modded original consoles.
And I'm assuming there was a capacity or a power draw issue.
Potentially.
So that or the specific multi-tap. Maybe it also because the way the multi-tap works is splits up the wires into the different controller ports and switches between ports 2 and 3 and then between that and 4 and 5. Maybe when it does that, it also switches off the power for the other controller ports. I don't know.
Sorry, Dr. No, I apologize.
Rami just pinged us all that it's time to start the race, and I'm very angry at it.
By the way, I guess before we move on, shoutouts to Mara for that last segment of the level. I feel like we kind of talked over it.
Oh,
it was a really cool way of...
That's a great story. First version of this level, it was flip-flopped. Mars section was first, Idol's section was second. The first version of this level, I think we maybe one of the things I pass to people, be like, you should play this and tell me what you think. Margot's original section of this level was horizontal, and I don't think enough people.
Wow.
Yeah, if you came in on the second round, of testing, you never got to play the original version.
Wait, BRB sliding into the secret Discord and grabbing the version 1.0.
I think there's a GIF of it in the general channel there.
The original concept of this was that the first section would be a horizontal up and down layer 2 lesbian worm.
Oh, you're right. I completely forgot that was.
And then the
wild.
second half would be the Anon block. Shout out to Anonymous Bloodlust. The Anon block lesbian worm. That's a phrase I didn't think I'd say today. With the layer 2 smash. And then testers were like, this is amazing. How will we ever make this race safe? And so Idle and Margot, shout out to Idle and Margot, by the way, who I think, and I know G-Breeze and Miracle Water work together all the freaking time, so that's probably a little unfair, but Idle and Margot really collaborated to make their level not just them, like, representative of them, but really fit their vision for the level into a package that we could put on stage.
Yeah, really cohesive, like working together.
And now it's time to talk about D's level, the last level of the relay. And
this got such a great audience reaction.
It really did. And I want to say, so I'll get the VOD going for this as well, because there's still some, we still have a bit of time to make up ourselves. As everyone mentioned, we've been working on this for a long time. CEO and Borgie signed on for this, I think, early 2020. It feels like, or like end of 2020, early 2021.
Mm-hmm.
This was the first level we had. D had an idea. D's had this idea for a level for a long time, and has been sitting on it and working so hard to make this possible for so long, and just really put so much of her effort and heart and soul into making this thing happen. And for it to finally get on stage and finally get an audience, and for that audience to get it and give it the credit and the respect that it deserves, just icing. Absolute icing.
Shout out to the scouting from RG Dolphins here, by the way.
The Jakku,
I really liked
the Jakku school of screen sniping.
Yeah, I really liked as in the commentary, as Amethyst and Kez both realized, oh, it's a rhythm level. Like, that was like a nice stand-in. They were having that realization at the same speed as the audience. Also, Juz does something amazing here. That little landing into the H, which oddly enough, Shovda does that same thing, but gets a bullet on that next one. Another way that the race was like super close.
One thing that's really cool about this level in particular, from a level design standpoint, this level has these star blocks which let you repeat a segment, which is actually unique to this level specifically, which I think actually really helped the racers kind of figure out the gimmick here, because you can see Shovda kind of like got warped back a couple of times there, but it helps kind of push the value of your lives up a little bit more. Like, if all of these were munchers, people would kind of just be dying a bunch, and I feel like it would be hard for the music to kind of help guide you through it.
That was something D4 and I actually talked about. Originally, they were munchers, and I was thinking, like, hey, you know, what if they didn't kill you constantly? And she said, oh, well, what if we just kind of sent them back a little bit?
I think that's a really good way to. There's so many things to consider, right? Not just the level in isolation. Like, if you go and get this from SMW Central and download it, it's very different than playing it with, you know, just speakers in a room full of people cheering behind you. And, you know, there's certain things that are out of player control, which I assume is what Glitch Hat and D4 were considering there. That, you know, you do want to compensate or you know, kind of be generous for in return, or, you know, just to kind of even it out so that it doesn't feel unfair.
So
the shell jump, though.
The shell jump was just chef's kiss, right? Because the whole first room was setting you up to realize that sprites are moving to the beat. And then they give you a sprite and be like, all right, here's a sprite, and you throw it, and you're like, all right, time to do a shell jump. And then you're like, wait, no, sprites are moving to the beat, and that includes shells.
D4 always has such a good sense of humor with the patches, with the ASM, with the Kaizo levels, everything she puts out. It's great.
Yeah, I think in testing, I argued pretty hard to keep. There was one room in this level that I think we all agreed to remove, which didn't end up, which was the Pobodo room.
The Pobodo
But I
Pobodo
argued hard
room.
to keep this one because I was like, look, this is going to be really funny. Keep the shell jump room. It's going to be funny, and I'm glad that played out. Not like it was my idea, but I'm
Yeah.
correct in arguing to keep it.
Yeah, I argued pretty hard for the Potaboo room, honestly. Not like one over the other. I wanted them both to appear. I went back and forth with D to the fourth a little bit, just
So
trying to offer to her like, hey, what if you just took out one Potaboo? What if you like spread them out a little bit more? Like, even if it ended up being a little too easy, I really liked the room, but yeah, I think it was a good, it was not a bad decision to remove it, especially considering the race environment and everything.
Yeah,
So,
I think it could have worked, but yeah, there were a few too many, and it wound up being a little bit like, even if I know how this all moves and work and I'm following the beat, it is still hard to actually see what things are gonna do.
Real quick, for everyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, the original version of this level had an extra one of these one-screen rooms that was literally just 7 Potobos. And they were just DVD logoing around the room, and you had to navigate.
You had to jump a wall. You were on the right side, and you had to jump to the left side.
And it had one of these single death blocks that you had to navigate around, too. And it was one of those rooms that, in testing, you either one-shot it or you were there for 4 minutes. And there was no in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't an easy level, but I did really enjoy it. Also, I want to just, I'm very surprised of all people. I don't know too many people as with as much affinity in the race as Third Wall has for mid-airs. I'm really surprised that that he never once tried to mid-air in the shell room, because it shouldn't have been that hard. It actually, just a slightly early. It wouldn't even have to have been a proper midair, but I think you could get the setup pretty easily as long as you were with the beats.
An interesting conjecture.
One thing that I liked about this level in particular, even just outside of the gimmick and kind of just more general design, I really like that we got to see the one screen room kind of make an appearance in this hack, because I feel like that's something that's sort of blown up a bit since the first GDQ race, where in addition to all of the other constrictions you have, just seeing what you can throw onto one screen and just let the player figure it out. I feel like that's a really nice way to end this, because it gets a lot of cool ideas out there quickly.
D's 2019 level also had one screens in the middle of it. The rotation puzzle. That if you want to think about a one screen, there was a mention in chat about audio, and I want to use that to kind of tell chat a story. Why so much of our development went so last minute. When we did testing, when we did creation, in fact, when we did everything for this level, including like this entire concept, it was under the understanding that there would be no musical chairs at all. That the whole multi-tap thing, like this entire construct, was that there would be 0 physical rotation, because we thought COVID safety would have to keep everyone locked in. So when we did all the level timings, when we did all the level creation, like pacing, all that stuff, it was with true instant retry in mind.
Yeah, and that was a very 11th hour design thing that we had to kind of worry about for a bit.
What happened?
Everyone,
So what happened was, if you've not seen the actual stage or the setup that they use on stage. By the way, this boss fight, I am a huge fan of this boss fight. I know I might be in the I know Testers had some talks about this boss fight. I love it. But the monitors that they play on are flat screens. They use retro tinks that do upscaling, and so they do flat screens. When the racers got in there to do testing, they realized that they were sitting at an angle. They could not see the screen at all. So they came to the conclusion that they physically could not all sit in one place and all see the screen at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I always have to be squared off with the screen. I don't like being like little brother mode where I'm sitting off to the side. All your angles are wrong. So
we went from having to go from instant retry for all the racers just sitting in their screens and control just passes to physical musical chairs. which I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I can speak for Fawful on this. Panic-inducing a little bit. That's where the idea for multiple lives originated from, was okay, how do we compensate for the fact that we just added a whole bunch of time in terms of physical rotation without compromising the levels themselves.
Yeah, and especially knowing that, like BK's level, for example, where there are going to be a lot of deaths right at the start, and they're going to constantly switch every single time of that.
Yeah,
that's going to eat up so much time.
When you're not physically moving, it's not a big deal. But all of a sudden, you start moving 6 feet chair to chair every time you die. It's like, oh, now you're never sitting down.
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked out the way it did, because I feel like visually it's just so much easier to watch the racers like rotate and see who's actually playing. Like, obviously, shoutouts to Borgie for the heads-up display that we haven't mentioned here, because I feel like that was also a pretty last-minute way of representing this.
Barb just clutching it out.
Barb.
I was thinking that it would come down to the last hit on the last boss, right? They're both in the room together. They both had shots at it.
But to answer your question, Boozy, about the audio part of the story, we initially thought that we would have headphones for every racer, would have their own set of headphones. That turned into, we thought the racers would have one set of headphones that they would also have to physically musical chairs around as they moved control. Ultimately, what ended up happening is, shout out to Test Runner, who is one of the heads of GDQ tech staff, who is a miracle worker, for getting a setup so that racers had speakers on stage that they could hear. Because this level, we couldn't tell the racers why, but we had to tell them, no, you need audio whether you realize it or not. Because testers tried playing this level without audio and it just didn't click.
Yeah, it doesn't have nearly the same impact if you don't have the audio with this level.
So GDQ staff did their absolute very best to put as much speaker on stage for game audio for the racers as they could.
It seemed like they could. I hadn't heard them say explicitly, but it seemed like they could hear it, and they did all right with that. I think this is a super. Just wanted to mention, man. I think this is a fitting. This is just kind of fitting. I'm glad. I think it ended well. You know what I mean? Like, everybody got a win. Everybody got to have a moment and play well.
Yeah, they explicitly tried really hard to not catch cross audio. Like, that was a huge goal of theirs, was to not have
to keep
cross
it directional.
audio. Yeah.
Look at how filled up that stream room is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that audience.
It's 1 a.m. and it's legitimately like
I guess speaking of the time slot, shoutouts to everyone who helped make that time slot actually happen, because that was another of the things that we were kind of stressed about as we were heading into the week of making sure that everyone got their chance to see it, really. And I know there were a couple of people that I think had to sacrifice their runs to make that happen, so kind of just wanted to give them a shout out for that here.
Thank you to I don't know their name, but the runner of Super Hot VR. I know ended up giving their run up to help get, and then Bobby, the Blacktastic.
Yeah, Bobby's a really kind person.
Thank you. I mean, it's selfish of me to say thank you, because it meant that I could go to bed at 3 a.m. and not 5 a.m. But sincerely, that was a very, very selfless act that I know all of us in the relay appreciated because of time issues. But
and on that note, I'm sure we're gonna see more of Bobby. He's a very passionate entertainer.
Huge, awesome.
I hope
person.
so.
But that's all of them. That's all 7 levels.
That's all.
Did it.
I and it was only 7 levels, but I think I saw in chat, I believe Meatloaf said earlier that, I mean, we started, I know, Siom and Borgie, your level is very, had a lot of custom stuff in it, but I feel like, really showcased SMW. And while every level showcased a bit of SMW, I do love how much a lot of the other levels showcased how other established styles of a video game and of gameplay can be integrated and matched up with Super Mario World and the things that work so well about SMW, and then work so well about, indeed the Force case about Crypt of the Necrodancer, and in Furpy's case, just mode 7 in general. I don't really know.
Those well put.
no-
That's well put.
Yeah, it was honestly an honor to be able to be a part of this design team. Thank y'all for letting us be in it. It was really cool to kind of watch all of the different Kaizo styles that have evolved over the couple of years. And honestly, like the Kaizo humor, I feel like we didn't really touch on that too much, but I feel like each of these levels was like actually funny in their own way, and I feel like that's such a hard thing to do in Kaizo.
Yeah. And the hosts did a good job, or the Kez and Amethyst especially did a good job bringing that out for people.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of, shout out to Flygon.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Shout
Yes.
out to Frozen Flygon for her hype in hosting and being the bridge between the marathon as a whole and our little corner of the marathon.
Yeah, and the excellent prize segments and stuff. She's really been doing great.
The Mareep looks so cute.
Yeah, the Mareep is the Mareep is the winner of the marathon. Any final? I mean, I could talk for the rest of the night about this, but there is another relay we do want people to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, Super Mario Maker 2. Also, I mean, who's that? Shoujo,
Shoujo,
Dan's there, Carl's there, Juz is there. So we get like
Hang
all
is
our
there.
friends.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
I do want to say also, speaking of Juz, shout out to Pooh, who made it the hard,
Yeah.
correct decision to be there for his wife and kid. Who was initially slotted to be a commentator for us, but made the correct decision to be with his family and help them out.
Yeah.
But shout out to them. I know Pooh played the levels today, and I know his reaction to them. If it was the same as it was on stream, it would have been just as good on live. But it's
been a GDQ of quiet nobility, hasn't it?
It really has.
Mhm.
But also shout out to Mark for being willing to stick around after the Celeste.smc couch to not just help build the multi-tap patch test levels, help build the collab as a whole, but also couch for us and be the voice of the creative team.
Yeah. Just shout outs to everyone who worked on this, because this was such a huge team to get everything working together. Thank you for letting me be a part of it. I have to go finish my race level for next week.
Yeah, CEO's making next week's race level.
Yeah.
I'm
with
almost
an
done with
eye
it.
to oh, excuse me, go ahead.
No, that's it. I was just saying
Yeah,
I'm almost done with it.
with an eye to the future, I mean, I have seen, and I'm not gonna, don't need to ramble about it necessarily, but like, having been a part of the early like Mario Maker 1 sight read race community and seeing how that grew up, having been I raced in 2019 at the race and saw how that went, and getting to walk kind of both paths and not being on the other side of this one, I'm really impressed with how just we continually kind of, I don't want to say top ourselves, because that sets an unrealistic kind of pressure. We always have to top it, we always have to do better, but I think we've consistently gotten just a lot better at putting these on, and we just keep snowballing these lessons learned into bigger and better stuff. So I guess with an eye to the future, this is not the last one. I think we're all pretty confident in that. To turn around and do this immediately, I think we all want to get some rest.
Give us some time.
Kind of get back to regular life.
Yeah.
But I can almost guarantee you that this is not the last presentation like this. That you all will see. That I hope that I get to be either a part of, on one side or the other, or both. There's a lot more. There's a much higher horizon to shoot for. And the new format we're trying out with the three lives and stuff, that could lead into other things as well. I know there were some lurking eyes in the Discord about maybe rumors of another hack attack sometime. Not to put like more work on our plates right now this very moment, but just to try to think about like, where do we go from here? As a community, as races. And personally, I'm grateful that you all, our RB, CO, TJB, everybody in chat, that everyone that participated and helped with this, that you're all a part of the ROM Hack Race community. And for those that are new, you can join us next week for another Kaizo sight read. We do them every Saturday. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the next thing is going to be. And I hope that everybody is feeling good and like using this energy to set your sights on the horizon. I will say for my own part, I have been greatly inspired to not only go and play Hacker's Dream as soon as I can, but get back to work on Subcon 2. So I hope that, I don't know, my wish, my final thought is that I hope that you can all channel this good energy into something really big for the next one, and we can see where we'll climb from here.
To that end,
Yeah.
TJ, RBP, any last thoughts from y'all?
I think a lot of people have kind of said a lot of my feelings already. I'm grateful for everyone's work that went into this. I was grateful for Dr. No for tapping me on the shoulder and asking if I wanted to help test and contribute a little bit. I think big shout out to Darkanine, who just in my experience of working on this,
deserves
I feel like
big bold name in the credits if he's not there yet.
I do kind of feel like that Darkanine went from
did the credits, so I would hope that they put that on there.
I hope that they made their font a little bit bigger. No, I think they went from. I mean, they had an important contributing role. I assume at first, and then I feel like that they just kept doing more and more and more and more. Testing, code contribution, leading the assembly process for a while, as after people started physically leaving to go to GDQ, and they kind of took over that process for a bit. And then after everyone landed at GDQ, they still were kind of the lead of making sure that everything was in current version, and just endless testing and debugging and stuff like that. And not that they were the only person. I mean, there's so many people, basically everyone that was in that GDQ Discord doing incredible amounts of work, making sure this was functional, literally up until the the last minute. So just huge shout out to everyone. And then huge shout out to the racers, of course, for then playing
massive.
Would have been an absolute letdown if all of that work happened and then no one played it. So huge shout out there as well.
TJ?
Yeah, everyone put in so much work. Everyone did a phenomenal job. It went so well. The thing I love about these as well is it really acts as a really good demo reel for the prowess of the Super Mario World hacking community. And all of these levels turned out so well. The racers did a great job. The commentators did a really great job. Shout outs to them. I'm really proud to have been a little part of this.
So I want to take a moment and thank someone in particular who two people in particular. First person I want to thank is Dacula. There was only when this whole thing started, there was only one other person on the planet who had organized one of these, and that was Dacula. And she has been such a phenomenal resource, not just here at ROM Hack Races, but for all of us as an organizer and as someone putting this together, to help have the experience and the support and the guidance to not just know how to do things, but know when things need to be corrected and know when things need to be made better, because they are the ones that have done it before and they know how to do it right. And so having Dacula around and having her insight and having her guidance and passive and active support was huge for all of us to be as successful as we were. And so I really want to say thanks to Dacula for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
The second person I want to thank is Fawful, who is a name that hasn't been brought up nearly enough yet tonight. Fawful absolutely saved my ass. And I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm not afraid to say it. Fawful stepped up in a massive way to help take over and be more present and take on a more organizational role in making this happen. Fawful was our on-site producer, so they were the one that kind of served the producer role at GDQ. Fawful's amazing, y'all. He's so good. And we wouldn't have been able to do any of this without his help, his support
Thanks,
in his
Fawful.
work. I hope he gets to hear
Thanks.
this at some point.
Yeah, everyone on the production team put in a ridiculous amount of work to bring all these levels together for y'all. So thank you to everyone for that.
And trust me, we know where we can do better the next time. For all of us.
Yeah, we got big things. I think we're gonna probably do like a behind the scenes kind of post-mortem on the project and just take an eye to the future.
Yep.
With that,
I don't want to I don't necessarily want to rush this along or anything, but I did want to point out the Super Mario Maker 2 Relay is going to start pretty soon, and you know, just wanted to point that out. I don't want to rush this off the stage or anything.
No.
I just keeping an eye on the
think we're
time
good.
here.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much. We'll see you next time, right? That this feels like a wrap up, but you know, they're doing the I got the GDQ open in the other window. They're talking with sense. We got some time, but just like thank you. Like, you know, we're talking about this like it's the end of something, and it is. You know, we put the time in, we did the project. But this is just one. You know, we're looking back at the 2019 race and saying, look at how many people got involved with Kaizo, you know, because of that, and who got attracted to the community because of that. So, you know, I don't know, for me, and I think for all of us, you know, let's hit the ground running, and let's look towards the future, and just, you know, there's going to be a lot more of this, and I think you know, we got more mountains to climb.
Yeah, super happy to help however I can.
Thank you all.
Just
Thank
let me
you
know.
so much. I you know, like Doc said, I could go on and on and on forever. But just really thank you. It's an absolute honor to be a part of this.
I think it's the most gratifying projects that I get a chance to work on are these relays, because of how much they take out of us, but how much we get out of doing them.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But don't think that there's not more coming, because we got C3 next week, which is going to be huge. We've got CO's race level. So if you liked what you saw, if you liked CO's race level, you're in luck, because we get more CO levels next week.
CO race level.
Shit soon.
That'd be great.
See, I don't think you're allowed to use the same level
Then it's
from the GDQ race. I think
palette swap
I
version
think
of
you
that
have to
level
use.
out.
I think you might need to make a new one. I'm not sure about that though.
my level Sky Boulders is ruined.
It's the no. The thing is that it's just the GDQ race level, except we're all Daisy instead of Mario. I will say, coming up, end of this month. We haven't talked about this yet. KLDC 2022 starts at the end of this month, y'all.
Oh, does it?
I didn't actually know that. That's exciting.
It does. Don't think I haven't thought about that too. So I will say that it was very gracious of all of you that contributed levels, because every single one of these levels could have turned into a KLDC winning level. In fact, I think in their current form, I think every single one of them would have been a top 10 KLDC level.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So we are blessed, and more is coming. And to that end, before we sign off, I have a little surprise to share with everyone.
Oh yeah.
Glitch has seen it, so Glitch knows what's coming. But
Oh yeah.
I have a little surprise to share as we wrap up. But a 1.1 is coming for the collab. We have some things we know we want to fix, but give us a chance to sleep and not stare at our computers for a weekend.
Yeah, and everybody at
before we get to work on
GDQ have some time to enjoy the rest of their time there rather than have to get back to work.
Yeah, so we know we have some things to fix in the credits. We know we have a couple bug fixes in some people's levels to hammer out. And we have that on our radar, and we're going to get that done. But before I share my little surprise, we are just going to send everyone over to GDQ for the Maker Relay. But Glitch, do you want to end this as we should always end our streams?
Oh yeah. Well, of course, I'm assuming most people here are familiar with the ROM Hack Race community, but if you are just checking us out from GDQ or anything like that, if you're new, thank you. I hope this is a good spot for everybody. If you'd like to learn more about what we do at ROM Hack Races, more about the Saturday races, or how you could get involved and just either help out or hang out in the community, check out romhackraces.com, our very official website managed, of course, by D to the 4th. And you can jump on our Discord from there. You can play some of our race levels. We have almost 200 of them. And join us if you want for the Saturday race. It's another sight reading race. Anybody is allowed to participate. I'll be bringing you the play-by-play. And yeah, that's what we do here. As far as the rest of the stream, of course, I think you all know, but it bears mentioning. You matter. Your thoughts matter. Your heart matters. Your feelings matter. You matter to other people in your lives, and you matter to me as human beings. You matter to the internet's #1 longboy furret. And the people that matter to you in your lives would love to hear from you about that. We know Black Lives Matter, LGBTQIA+ lives matter, Indigenous lives matter, disabled lives matter, you too. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Enjoy the GDQ Mario Maker relay. Even though it's not SMW Hokkaizo, it's an excellent thing. And if you're not familiar with the wacky stuff they can do in Maker, you're going to love it. So stay tuned for more, and I hope we'll see you all again next week and going forward in the future. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, y'all. Enjoy this
Thank
little
you,
Thank you.
enjoy this little surprise, and have a great rest of the GDQ.
All right, testing, 1 2 1 2. Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome. Come on in, sit down, grab a drink of your choice and some snacks. We've got ROM Hack Races Week 6